So you want to build $1 million business, and that's fantastic because you can. But it's easier to do that than become the person who can. And that's what we're going to be working on today. What you can expect today to get is a mindset shift that makes scaling success basically inevitable. There's some hidden patterns that hold people back from real growth, and we're going to share those. And you'll get some immediately actionable tools to becoming the person who doesn't just dream big, but actually executes at a high level. And there's going to be a special bonus at the end. So, first, before we go into the topic, now, who am I actually to even speak about this topic? And why would you trust me in any of what I have to say on this? Well, I'm an executive coach for business growth by expanding the cognitive frameworks, what we have. I've done strategy, communications, and psychology now for about 15 years, and I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and CEOs from really early stage companies to stock listed ones and everything in between. And there's some certain patterns that I have seen and that I have utilized myself as well in growing my career and in growing my businesses. Because earlier, that's what I used to do. I learned all of this to advance myself. But I was in a very severe traffic accident in 2017. And back then, I thought to myself, like, hey, with this second chance at life, I don't just want to be building my dreams. I want to actually utilize this responsibility that I felt was arising from it and help others in achieving their goals. So, when it comes to supporting you as an entrepreneur, why am I actually here? Well, this is part of my bad humor. I'm the one who is always in your corner, literally. So, let's dive into the topic. And I want to first show a few examples of what it looks like when you are building something of your own. And we're going to explore what that actually then requires. So the first question is, what do you think? How many times was the KFC founder turned down before the first one said yes to him? So he was actually 62 years old, Harlan Sanders, and he was trying to get KFC really going. And if you think now to yourself, how many times, there's some say that there's 100 times that you need to hear no to get the first yes. Well, actually, he heard it 109 times. So he was turned down 1,009 times before someone said yes to him. Now, the other example is, which company do you think that the founders wanted to sell for 1 million so that they could go back to school and nobody had interest in it? They actually then, about 5 months later, went on to raise 25 million. But at that point, they thought, like, if someone would pay us 1 million, we just go back to school. But nobody wanted to. That company was Google. Now, the third example of what it can look like to build a business is, how much sales do you think that the company Ring, which launched as Doorbot, so this kind of door camera systems, when they started selling at QVC online TV shopping, how much sales did they make in 24 hours after they were turned down by countless investors, including those in the Shark Tank? So 24 hours, how much sales did they make? They sold a whopping 144,000 units in 24 hours. So that's pretty impressive. Seemingly impossible things can come true. And also getting so many no's and so many people not believing in you and so many people telling you that it's ridiculous what you're doing. And yet some just don't believe it and do it anyway. So, what do you think, if you take a moment to reflect, what do you think made these results possible? Now, for sure, you are thinking about things like grit, perseverance, belief in themselves, all these things, and that is true. Now, what all of those things have in common is that they are fully in your control because they're inside of you. They're not some external forces that allowed that to happen. They were things inside of them, and they are things inside of you. So when you go on this entrepreneurial path, like, yes, it's hard, but yes, it's also doable. And there's three muscles that you need that I've identified that make all the difference. So let's look into those muscles. These inner muscles, they're similar to the outer ones that we have because they grow with usage. You can't go once to the gym and expect to have massive biceps. You gotta go there again and again. And the good thing about when you train them again and again is that actually, with the growing muscles, you increase your confidence and feeling of self worth. Now, that's already win win, but we're adding a third element to it, which is that they trigger a positive snowball effect. So, the more you do it, the more the muscles grow, and the more that trickles down to other things as well, and the bigger the impact grows. Now, the first muscle, I've named it cheek charger, and you will soon understand what I mean with it. But first, as we already know, sailing will get rough, and your ability to consciously shift your state of mind is really key to success. And champions, they're not born. We know this. It's there's a saying, but they're really self-made and they do it by managing their energy. Now, if we think about what gives people energy, we get energy from food, sure. However, there's distinctions of which kind of food, how much, and so on. You've probably also had some holidays and eaten way too much and then just crashed on the sofa and not felt very energetic. So, food doesn't necessarily bring you energy. Then there's sleep, obviously also a very important one and has massive impact on our cognitive abilities. However, we've probably also all of us woken up some mornings and even though we've slept so long, we still feel tired. So it's not a given that sleep gives us energy. But the one thing that really does always give us energy is when we change our physiology. And that's why I call this the cheek charger, because you're charging your energy with your cheeks. And I'm not talking about these here, I'm talking about the ones that you're sitting on right now. So if we want to shift our energy, we charge it with our cheeks, meaning that we move. You can shift your emotional state in under 60 seconds by moving your cheeks in terms of you go out for a brisk walk, you can dance to your favorite song, whatever it would be, that you get yourself moving. And even smaller than that is changing your physiology. Now, if you are feeling really drained in energy and you want to get yourself up and going, then you cannot be like this. If you are in your physiology showing your body and your brain that you are low energy, then that's what you're going to be. That's why the movement works because you are actually showing movement, you're actually showing to be there and to have this energy. The third thing is to trade your expectations to appreciation and gratitude because there's a funny thing about our brain that we cannot be stressed and fearful and all these negative emotions and at the same time be appreciative and have gratitude. So if you want to make those go away, those negative feelings and those negative emotions that keep you drained from your energy, then what you need to do is you put yourself into a state of appreciation and gratitude. The second muscle I call Teflon. What I mean with Teflon is that we really need to be able to shake off the things that we are told. Quite often, we will be criticized, we will be questioned, all of those things when we're building something new. And in those moments, we need to be able to get it off our shoulders, just like, sliding like Teflon. Because there's one thing that stops us people. Now, if you think to yourself, what is the one thing that stops people? It's fear. Fear of any sorts. And there's really two kinds of fear. It's not being enough of some sort, and the fear of not being loved. And it makes perfect sense. It actually goes back to our caveman times because we humans, we're herd animals. And if we back in those days when we were living in caves, if we were not enough, if we were not good enough or in some way sufficient, then there was the likelihood that we would have been kicked out, or if we weren't loved, if we were not accepted into that community, we would have been kicked out, and that would have meant death. Now, but these days, we're not living in caves anymore, and someone not liking us will not mean that we're going to die. But still, we have that fear from those days. So we need to overcome that in order to live freely. And actually, psychologist Alfred Adler has defined freedom as the courage to be disliked. Now, in our lives, whatever we focus on, we are going to get more of, and everything in life either grows or dies. And if you are facing a challenge, actually, you could, rather than being afraid, you could say to yourself, like, hey, life is calling me to grow. And there's a great example of a famous actor who was in his earlier days, he was in this impro class and he was supposed to go on stage, but there was a chair blocking the way through the door that he was supposed to enter through. And he said to his instructor that, hey, I'm supposed to go on stage, but there's a chair I cannot get through. And his instructor said that, yeah, but use the problem, use the challenge, use the chair. And he said, I don't understand. What do you mean with use the chair and use the challenge? And he said, well, if you want to create a drama out of it, then you smash that chair when you go on stage. If you want to make it a comedy, fall over it. Utilize the challenge. And we're going to face so many metaphorical chairs on our paths that we need to learn to see them as something that we can actually utilize. Now, in a more practical way, how can we overcome fear? One way to do that is the Superman pose. So we stand and we stand like Superman for 2 minutes. Now, what that does to us is that it increases our testosterone levels, so our confidence, and it brings down the cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So we literally feel like supermen and superwomen after that. The other thing that you can also do at the same time is breathing. Now, when we are afraid or when we are nervous, we tend to start breathing in a very shallow and fast way. That's our body's reaction and calling basically for the fight or flight reflex. However, we can trick our minds and our brains to a different message, which is by slowing down and relaxing our breathing. Deep, slow breaths, and we relax our tongue and our cheeks. Again, not the ones here, but the ones we're sitting on, because otherwise we'll clinch like this. But we breathe and show our bodies that we are safe. Because deep and slow breathing is what our brain interprets as we are safe. The other thing that we can do is smile, including the eyes. If we're just putting on a smile, that's not convincing anyone. You either not. So we smile and we include our eyes into that smile. And now I want to do a short experiment with you related to fear and how to overcome it and how we can actually manipulate our own feelings. I want you to close your eyes. And when your eyes are closed, imagine yourself into some situation that really causes you fear. Whether that's getting up on that stage to present or to pitch, or whether that's selling your business, whatever that would be, imagine yourself into it. Really feel the fear and hear what is happening around you. Hear and see what's going on. Who is there? Really put yourself into that situation. And when you're there, you start smiling, and you start smiling with your eyes. And you will notice something that, funnily, all of a sudden, that fear that you had, when you added the smile to it, now you're feeling excited. So you have actually so much control over your own emotions. And to overcome fear or any other emotion that we don't want to be feeling, we need to understand the power that we hold because we can choose our emotions. And whenever I say this, I have always someone saying, like, that's not true. There's lots of people who make me angry or frustrated or even happy, whatever that would be, positive or negative feelings. We say that there's people and situations that make us feel certain ways, but that's not true. Nobody has a switch that they can flip inside of us to make us feel anything. We trigger those emotions. And if you think back at a day when you were in a bad mood and something really small happened, and all of a sudden it blew up into like this biggest thing, and you started telling yourself how your whole life is basically falling apart because you spilled a little bit of coffee, because that was the mental state that you were in back then, and you compare it to a day when you were in a fabulous mood and you spilled a complete coffee all around. The emotions that you had related to that same event are not the same because you trigger them inside of you. Now, the third muscle that we have is do power. And one would think that just, knowing what you should be doing and having the willpower would get you somewhere. But that's not true because a lot of people have knowledge, and knowledge is not power. Knowledge without action is daydreaming. So you still need to do it. And someone with a lot of do power will always go way beyond someone with just willpower. And I want to introduce you to someone. You might know this guy. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you've even read his book. It's great, by the way. This is David Goggins. So, who is David Goggins? David Goggins is a retired Navy SEAL and also the only person to complete SEAL training, Army Ranger School, and Air Force Tactical Air Control training. The only person in the world to do all of this. And he's even much more of all kinds of things. And when we see this kind of people, we often think that there's something special about them, that they were born that way, they had it easy, or there was something that allowed them to do that, and we are just coming from a different place. Well, this is also David Goggins. But what is the difference between the image we saw earlier and this one is that he built discipline. And he said, I do not negotiate with myself. And what I mean with negotiating with yourself is a very simple, practical example. You tell yourself that you want to go to the gym tomorrow morning. Now, tomorrow morning comes, and you wake up and you're like, yeah, but I have this, thing on my back, and maybe it's not that good for me to go. And actually, I'm a little bit running late already, and I'm not sure if I make it. And well, I went last week. One time extra. So maybe just skip today. Now you're negotiating with yourself. And by not doing that, you are building discipline when you just do it. And there's a couple of hacks how to build discipline and habits. Three of them. Make it easy, make it hard, and take action within 5 seconds. What I mean with that is you make it easy by making it as easy as possible for you to do the thing you want to do. Now, if you've been following me for a while on social media, you might have seen that I go to bed in the evening already in my clean workout clothes. So I go to bed and I sleep in my clean workout clothes so that it's as easy as possible for me to get up really early in the morning and to go to the gym. I just need to brush my teeth, slip into my shoes, put the jacket on, and grab the bag that I've also already prepared. The other part is making it hard. So basically the opposite of that. Whatever you don't want to be doing, you make it as hard as possible for you to do it. If you want to get rid of the habit of watching TV in the evening and zapping through, then just put the remote control on top of your bookshelf in a place where you always need to take the ladder. And when you have switched channels, you put it back up there again, bring the ladder away, and so on. And you will start noticing, like, hey, actually, this is not what I want to do. The third thing is 5 seconds is as long as you need to be able to ensure that you're not going on autopilot. Now, this is something that Mel Robbins speaks a lot about, and she's brilliant. And 5 seconds is pretty much the time frame where you're either going to go with your autopilot or go a different way. And if you can, within those 5 seconds of having the thought of, I need to do something, if you actually take action, the likelihood of you doing that is exponentially higher, because otherwise you start negotiating with yourself again. So within 5 seconds, you can override your autopilot. And now, as we already see, is that it's not really about how you feel about things. While feelings are important, thinking about whether you feel like doing something is a trap. You'll most likely not feel like doing the uncomfortable thing. You'll most likely not feel like doing the thing that you've already been putting off for weeks or months or years, even. So, first, you take action. You bring yourself to take action, and the feeling will follow. Everyone who has done something that they really didn't feel like doing knows what I'm talking about and how it feels afterwards. The feeling will follow, I promise. We are guided a lot through our beliefs of whether we can do it or not in the part of taking action. Because if we don't believe that we can do it, then we will most likely not take action. And the beliefs that we hold about ourselves and about the world around us are incredibly strong. And there's a very interesting study that went on for over 10 years that I want to share with you to exemplify what difference it makes, what sort of beliefs you have. So, over 10 years, they tested two groups of people. One group considered themselves lucky in life, the other person believed that they were not lucky in life. And they gave both groups a newspaper to look through and to count the amount of images in it. A very simple task. On average, the ones that considered and believed that they were not lucky took about 2 minutes for them to count that there were 43 pictures in that newspaper. The interesting part is that those ones who did consider themselves as lucky, who believed that they are lucky in life, most of them caught it within 2 to 3 seconds that on the second page, in like 2-inch letters, in a half of the size of the paper image, it said, stop counting. There's 43 images in this newspaper. Now, what does that tell us? If we believe we are lucky, we see opportunities everywhere. We see some positive potential impact in a lot of places. If we believe that we are unlucky, we are fully focused on one thing and we don't consider the opportunities and we don't see them that are around us. And this can be quite massive in our business. How do we incorporate this into our lives? We can start a day in a really good way, and you will probably have heard about the 5 a.m. club. It's great if you get up at 5 a.m., but you can also become successful without waking up at 5 a.m. But there is method to the madness of how to structure that life. And this is the part that you probably haven't heard yet. When you start your day by building a sweat and then go into visualizing past your fear and take massive action, your chances of success are much higher. And this is why. When you build a sweat, you increase the testosterone levels that you have, which means increased focus, increased willingness for risk taking, and out of the box thinking. When you, with this mindset and with this energy and with this state, go into visualizing past your fear, all the manifestations, affirmation, visualizations, all of this, you are in a completely different world in your mind. And you have much more courage and much more faith in yourself. And when you, after that, take action, you are showing your brain that what you just visualized actually can happen and is actually probable to materialize because you are acting on it. So, in this order, by doing those things, and you can do this also after lunch, it doesn't matter at which time of the day you do that. Mornings are great for it because you prime the whole day, but you can also do this at another time if that fits your schedule better. It's better to do it than not to do it at all because you don't do it at 5. Now, with this, you will have primed yourself for a fantastic day. So I promise that there's something more for you at the end, and we're getting there. But I just want to repeat the three key takeaways that yes, it's hard. And yes, it's probably harder than you could imagine. But how about you think about it as life calling you to grow? Because yes, it's doable. Others have, and you will. You got those three muscles inside of you, and by using them, they will grow. What I wanted to share with you is on the beliefs. If you want to go deeper into that topic, I have a special course on that. And I have a special challenge, which means that it's at amazing conditions. And you get 1.5 hours of video material to understand how beliefs are formed, the science behind it, how to rewrite those beliefs, and how to really get to empowering beliefs that work for you and build the foundation of your power instead of holding you back. And in this, also, you're doing something else great, which is that for just 29 euros, you're getting this course. It's a limited time offer at that, because I want to make sure that we get 10 million vaccinations against polio for children. So I've pledged 75% after VAT of my sales to the Rotary Foundation, and each course finances more than 100 vaccinations for children. So you're doing something good for you, but you're also doing something great for children. So let's do this final test. You're going to utilize the cheek charger. You're going to shift your state of mind. You're going to utilize that Teflon, that other people's opinions go. You're going to shake it off, do power. You get uncomfortable and just do it now, because you will need to do this quite a few times along the journey. Put some song on, get dancing, and just dance like nobody's watching and see how that feels for you. I look forward to being on this journey together with you. We're gonna go beyond all those limits and achieve great things and celebrate together. So if you want more of this kind of content on how to hack your own mind to your benefit and how to expand that cognitive frame for more growth personally and in business, then give me a subscribe and give me a follow. And I look forward to connecting with you again.